And let's do it. It is your boy, Mr. 6 o'clock himself, Denzel Snipes, and we are back for another episode of Top Rope Talk, the hottest wrestling talk in the game. If you don't know, ask somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody that knows their mama. With that being said, I just want everybody to follow us on all of our socials at Sideline Sports 1. We're on Facebook, X, Instagram, and also TikTok as well. And we have our great website, sideline-se.com. A lot of great articles on there published daily, as well as great photography from our resident photographers and coverages of live events. We've got our shows on the network, The Ride with Chevy and Nasty, AC Sports Live, The Rubio Method, Sideline Sports Show. This one right here, you're watching Top Rope Talk. Also, if you're watching us on YouTube, send us a follow and a subscription subscribe as well. We also got the Sports Insiders, the Ravine Rundown, Confidential, and so much more. So we are headed into Saturday Night Main Event coming up here shortly. And I'm not alone. I got my two co-hosts. I got the numbers guy, Sean Russey, and I got ice cold, undisputed Sumner himself. So, fellas,
yes,
how you doing? What's going on?
Everything's going good, man. How are you, boss?
Doing good. Tyler, what's going on with you, man?
Everything's going good, man. Got out on the golf course this weekend. Shot 45 over. I'm not much of a golfer, but I try. I'm picking up the game. I know 45 over on a par 70 is not the best. But overall, summer's here. I'm excited for it, man.
Yes, it is most definitely summertime is June through August, but Sumner time is all 12 months. Let it be known. Let's go ahead and get into our topics. So, had an interesting SmackDown this past Friday night. Trick Williams defeated The Miz. And I would like to think that they're maybe this is something where they're pushing Kit Wilson or even The Miz in line next to be a contender for the U.S. Championship. Gunther is officially signed on the dotted line to the blue brand. He then went on later on that night to defeat Royce Keys in a number one contenders match for the WWE title. So I'll swing it down to you, Tyler. Your thoughts about this SmackDown? And to my understanding, this is going to be a WWE Championship match at Clash in Italy. But your thoughts about this, and also with Royce Keys' involvement with Solo Sikoa. Sikoa seemingly cost them the match.
Yeah, so I actually had to play catch up on SmackDown because I was working. So I had to just watch clips and stuff from what was going on. But from what I saw, I think the most interesting part is Royce Keys' involvement with the Bloodline. Because we know him and Jacob go back, way back to their days on the independent scene. But in terms of the involvement with Solo here, again, I don't want it to be an everlasting feud with the MFTs and Royce Keys like it was with the Wyatt Six that went on for what felt like eternity, right? I just think, Royce Keys is more than that. He went toe-to-toe to Gunther. He stepped up to Gunther. He stepped up to Cody Rhodes and basically said, if you won't sign the contract, I will. And I liked that. So I think now we need to see maybe Royce Keys get involved in Roman and Jacob's feud over there because he already has been present in that feud, right?
Right.
Jacob needs help because he just took out the Bloodline all at once.
Right.
But Roman's going to call reinforcements. Now that Jacob laid hands on the Usos along with Roman, now Jacob's going to be getting jumped, right? And we'll talk about this in a little while, but I think one of those guys could be Royce Keys.
Okay. So Royce Keys and Jacob Fatu, they go way back. And I know that we theorized that it would be Zilla that will show up, and it's not too late for Zilla Fatu to show up. But what do you think of a threesome of Jacob Fatu, Zilla Fatu, and Royce Keys?
So I've debated with Zilla for a while now, and nothing against him. He's a great guy. He's somewhat decent in ring. and his promos are decent, but I feel as if the WWE audience, the casual WWE fan, doesn't know who Zilla Fatu truly is. And I feel like in that way, he needs to start off in NXT for a little bit, right? Because NXT does need roster help a lot because they've been rated tremendously the last 6 months. Oba's on the main roster now. Trick's on the main roster now. Joe Hendry, Ricky Saints, Ethan Page, Javon Evans,
JC Jane.
Her
whole faction, yeah.
Right? And I just think that if having Zilla in NXT would not only benefit him and his development, but also have it be where people can get familiar with him. Because hardcore fans like us, we know who Zilla Fatu is. He's the son of Umaga. But to the casual guy, for example, I could say my 15-year-old cousin who only watches WWE occasionally and doesn't get to watch any of the indies, he won't have a clue who Zilla is.
Right.
That's why him coming to NXT would be more beneficial. I also do think he's a little rusty in ring, and I think he needs some work with that. But I do think inevitably, if we stretch this feud to Night of Champions, right, that's where I can see Zilla. Have him sign now. For all we know, he could be signed quietly because I don't know if you guys remember, speaking about Jacob was signed for almost a year before they even debuted him.
Yeah, that's true.
I think if you have him quietly signed now, have him just work, in the Performance Center, not on TV or anything like that. Just let him build his craft, then have him debut.
Okay, excellent take. I'll swing it over to you, Sean. Your thoughts about the events of SmackDown this past Friday night, and also I'm interested to see because you theorized that one of Gunther's favorites would be bringing back Brock Lesnar, and doesn't seem to be so. It seemed to be that favor was not only bringing him to SmackDown, but getting him in a WWE Championship match. Of course, he had to defeat Royce Keys to do so. But your thoughts about that?
Yeah, well, so here's I think he's still going to bait Lesnar out by using Heyman and continuing to use Heyman. And then this whole thing with Keys, it's kind of like he's getting recruited by 3 separate factions, even though Fatu doesn't have a partner right now. It's kind of them laying into the free agency thing of Raw and SmackDown. My issue with putting Zilla and Royce and Fatu together is they're the same guy. They're 3 powerhouses. They all look the same, essentially. Like, you can't put them together. You can put 2 of them together, but all 3 of them together is kind of like overkill. I could see Zilla being on the side for Reigns and company, but I think what you're going to get Saturday is, honestly, you're going to get Reigns demanding a handicap match for the Usos versus Jacob. I don't think Reigns faces him again until the Night of Champions. It seems too rushed to me to just throw another championship defense on Saturday's card. So I think Fatu faces them in a handicap match Saturday, and then we'll go from there to see what happens if they bring in the surprise now, or if they keep dragging it out to Night of Champions, because you figure either way, at the end of the day, Roman is coming out of the rivalry on top and moving on to SummerSlam as the champion.
Yeah, kind of figure so. And with that being said, we're going to slide into our Raw preview for tonight. First of all, what's next for the Samoan Werewolf? Now, we talked just now about, I guess, kind of going forward. Probably more so Key's involvement and Zilla's involvement. But what do you think is in store tonight? What do you think is in store tonight for the Samoan Werewolf? Do we see him? Tyler, on you, buddy.
Yeah, I think we do see him. And I think, believe it or not, right, we know Roman's going to close the show because every time Roman's a champion, Bloodline segments close the show. I think tonight you give Jacob the mic, and Jacob needs to cut a vicious pipe bomb on Roman, right? Because when he initially said, he wants the title, he needs the title. Okay, you said all these things you need, but we want to know why you need them. We want to know why we want to make, sorry, let me phrase this the right way. We want to hear you out and believe why we think you should be the one to beat arguably the greatest to ever lace up a pair of boots.
Okay, now before you continue, he had there has to be something else underlying his, regarding his chase for the World Heavyweight Championship, because here's the deal. He has stated that the reason why he needs that title is because he needs to feed his family. But in theory, don't you think that by aligning up with Roman Reigns, he helps feed families? That's what tribal chiefs do.
Right.
If that is what you wanted, you could have aligned with me. I would have helped you get more money. I'm the tribal chief. That's what I do. I feed families. This is what Roman does. So there has to be something else underlying as to why he needs that championship that we're not quite hearing yet.
Well, the other thing, too, that I want to say, right? Why specifically Roman's title? Why couldn't you get Cody's title?
That's true. That is true.
Why specifically do you want the title from Roman Reigns? Theoretically, I could see it being as if Jacob has watched the way that Roman has abused the family, and Jacob wants to restore order, because Jacob knows what it's like to be locked up, to be held captive. The Usos are always held captive by Roman. Maybe Jacob wants the title because he wants to free his family from Roman.
Maybe so. And considering the fact that he was already on SmackDown, he could have just challenged Cody Rhodes. He could have theoretically just stayed there and challenged Cody. Instead, he went all the way to Raw to challenge Roman Reigns. And I was going somewhere with this one. So, yeah, there definitely has to be something underlying with this one. Maybe he secretly wants to take over the family. Maybe he wants the Ulafala. Maybe he wants to be the shot caller of the family. And also, he has gone on record as saying, when you guys were running the bloodline, I was broke. That kind of alludes to when I needed my family, y'all weren't there. Y'all were over here,
And he also said, while you were giving other guys a chance, you didn't give me no chance.
Yep.
You know who did give me a chance? Solo.
That is true. We'll swing it on up top to you, Sean. What are your thoughts about this whole thing?
In terms of tonight, I actually think we're just going to be surprised again, and I think Jacob's going to be put over once again, which is, I think Triple H is trying to keep everybody guessing, like, oh, this is going to be the week he takes the beatdown. This is going to be the week he takes the beatdown, but I don't even think it's coming tonight. I think he's going to end up with the high grip on top with the Tongan death grip. He closes the show standing over Roman again, and it just forces Roman to regroup in terms of this handicap match Saturday. But here's something we've heard it. We've heard Saudi is making big offers to The Rock. What if The Rock is who sent Fatu to Raw? Just like he presented to Cena, hey, I can give you all the riches, I can give you everything you want, but you got to go take the belt and the Ulafala and all this from Roman. So I could see them doing that if they're signing The Rock for WrestleMania 43. It is only to face Roman Reigns. There's no one else they're bringing him in to face. It is not to face Cody Rhodes. I don't care what that story is. He's got one match left in him. It's going to Roman Reigns.
It has to be.
So if they're going that direction, I could see where Jacob gets turned into the sent hitman, and eventually The Rock comes and costs Roman the title, and maybe even somehow The Rock gets the title before WrestleMania 43. We've seen them do that before with Punk and Cena and The Rock in terms of getting the title over to The Rock for a couple months before the big show. So I would not put it past them, especially with the Saudi money involved.
Yep, and then also at the same time, Roman Reigns could look at this. This is an interesting angle because Roman can look at this as like, whoa, cousin, you really just like knifed me in the back. So it was you that sent Fatu. Okay, well, I dispatched Fatu. So now the only thing about that, though, is if he's going to face Rock, at next year's WrestleMania, because I still hang on to my theory that it's going to be Rollins that takes the belt off of him at SummerSlam.
That's too quick. It's too quick.
Think it's too quick?
It's too quick because Rollins' injury history, you can't put the belt back on him until he goes 6 months without staying off the shelf.
Okay. That might throw up
Roman has time off history, not injury history. Like, he's got one issue where we know he had a health-related vacation. But Rollins, if you go back over the last 10 years, I could probably put 4 of those years to injuries. You can't keep putting the belt on him right now.
Yeah. Okay, then. So,
well, here's my thing, right? can we really rely on Rock to be there for a build-up to Mania? Because
If
look
it's
at
Saudi money, I think you can, because it's more than even what TKO could give him.
he's on the board of TKO though. That's my thing, right? He was there at the start for the Cena heel turn and just didn't show up. That's why the heel run sucked.
Yeah, I agree with you there on that one, and especially considering he's on the board of directors for TKO, and not only that, he's Dwayne freaking Johnson. The man has been in a position where he could call his own shots, make his own schedule, do what he wanted to do for the better part of the last 10 years.
That's true, but we know these Saudi events, they call the shots, not TKO. They literally tell them who they want. They want to see who they want over there in the main event. They demand superstars to be over there. It's the reason we got that disaster internationally with Undertaker and Kane. Saudi is very much in control of WrestleMania. Don't let anything else fool you in terms of what's happened in the past. Saudi money is a lot more than what TKO shared. TKO board member power.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same issue that Live Golf is having with these guys coming back, because they took the Saudi money. We've seen it with even entertainment related guys. That Saudi money is going to talk volumes to The Rock.
It is absolutely. And when I was stating my theory just now, it wasn't necessarily for WrestleMania next year. Like I put it to you like this: let's say you got the SummerSlam pay-per-view, right? If he wanted to, The Rock could say, find a way to get me on that card. Who's going to turn him down? It could be TLC. Find a way to get me on that card.
No, and he'll always have that stroke. I think it's the double payday, right? Because you get your TKO payday, and then you get the Prince of Saudi's payday.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, no, don't get it twisted. That Saudi money talks loud, very loud, and not even he himself is going to turn down an opportunity to make like another Brinks truck full of money, right? But also he is Dwayne Johnson. He's the biggest star in the world. So on the other end of the spectrum, if you're Saudi, it's like, how do you deny Dwayne Johnson? You see how that kind of like goes hand in hand?
Yeah, 100%. Because again, they want the draw. It's probably going to be their only WrestleMania for at least 5 to 10 years, based on the outlook of maps of locations that's getting WrestleMania. So they're going to want to put on a big show in terms of their specific location.
Yeah, and they're going to want the biggest names there and to do so. I mean, look at it like this, right? Let's say this is 1991, right? You're an action film director, Sean. And you're looking for, you've been doing kind of mid-level, films. You've been doing okay, but you're looking for that one blockbuster, right? Arnold freaking Schwarzenegger sees your potential, walks up to you and says, let's do a film. Are you turning him down?
No, of course not.
There you go. That's where I was going with this. Is it kind of goes hand in hand. That Saudi money talks loud, but Dwayne Johnson also is the biggest star in the world. So they're gonna find a way to make it work, because Saudi's got the money, but Dwayne can call the shots. Dwayne can call the shots for whatever it is he wants to do, and then it's just up to the fans on.
And we'll probably know. We'll know by like Survivor Series if that's gonna happen or not, because there'll be little breadcrumbs sprinkled in if we get to Survivor Series and that's the direction we're gonna go. Yeah.
That right there is true. The road to WrestleMania officially begins with the Royal Rumble, but the seeds get planted right around November, you figure, But we'll move on to our Raw preview tonight, and that is, so we've got the Women's Tag Team Championships will be on the line. Of course, Oba Femi's Open Challenge continues, and the two Americanos factions will collide tonight. I'm going to start it off with Tyler. Okay, Tyler, and since you're the resident, well, we all like Oba Femi, but you're the resident Oba guy on the panel. How much longer is this going to continue? Because you know how from what we saw last week, right? And Sean, you remember this. Sean, you remember Ryback?
Mm-hmm.
Remember when he had something similar to this, and they were putting in 2 170-pound guys, 3 175-pound guys against him at once, and he'd run through them? Like, this is kind of where it's headed. So, my question to you, Tyler, when are we going to see him face a formidable opponent?
I think it could be as early as tonight.
Okay.
Because you can't have this fall flat, because you have the rocket strapped to the guy. and you have the biggest star in the company right now, other than Roman Reigns, I'd say.
True.
And Cody Rhodes, respectfully. But if it's not tonight, I think we're going to get it at Saturday night's main event. And I think we're going to get either someone from AAA. I think we could get someone from Impact. Or I think we could just get somebody that's going to make a jump. And, you know, I think maybe an interesting situation is maybe it's Sami Zayn.
Think it's time for Zayn to come to Monday nights?
Maybe Sammy confronts Oba. Maybe it's Ilya. I'd love to see Ilya versus Oba. I think that'd be a great match.
That'd be tough.
I think tonight has to be the night where it's like, okay, we've taken Oba seriously. This guy just beat Brock Lesnar. And now we're just having him bury catering, essentially. Mm-hmm. What is the point of that?
True.
You know, and that's not Triple H's fault. That's TKO being a shitty company. I'm not afraid to say it. Cancel me, internet, if you want. I'm not afraid to say it. TKO sucks. Sucks. They are ruining the product. If this was Triple H, you know, I'm going to go on a little rant here right now, okay?
You know what? We'll give you the floor. Go ahead, buddy.
If Triple H was still in charge, Adam Cole would be with the company still. Okay. Swerve would probably be as good as he was, as is in AEW. Okay. And you probably would have been able to sign Kenny Omega. They are ruining the product, and it is terrible. Like, it's so bad because SummerSlam 2022, when the Triple H era started, 2022 to 2024, peak Triple H. And now we just have this bullshit of a snooze fest. It's like, oh, cool, another Vision segment. Oh, can't wait to hear Paul, can we fire Logan Paul? Cool. Like, could you imagine if we got Adam Cole versus Roman Reigns? The Bullet Club versus the Bloodline? Need I say any more? There's my rant. I will never forgive Vince McMahon and TKO for getting rid of Adam Cole.
And you know what? We'll go more into that last character here in just a little bit. But swinging it over to Sean. Sean, your thoughts about what you think? What else do you think we're gonna see tonight?
Yeah, I mean, so the open challenge is a nice filler. You know, they obviously don't really know who they want to put up next against them, because obviously whoever goes up against them has to lose. And they got to find someone that's not really going to hurt. At this point, I would even say Orton kind of fills that spot where a loss for Orton doesn't hurt Orton, but if Orton can make Oba put on a good match, and just a different match than obviously you get with a powerhouse like Brock, then it's just another step in terms of, you know, Oba maturing in the ring. So, that it's got to be that type of guy where the loss doesn't hurt the opponent that much, but it elevates Oba, because these lightweights he's grabbing from the back, again, it's entertaining, but it's not doing anything for him. And then, like, obviously he's different than Ryback, because Ryback was pretty horrible on the mic. Oba is actually not too bad, mic work wise, at least right now, and I expect more improvements. But, these smash matches, how long can you go on with him? It's very WCW-ish in terms of just racking up wins. And then in terms of the Americano stuff, like, I'm over this whole thing. It's been going on for way too long. Let's just demask Chad Gable and get this over with.
We know that's you, Chad. We know that's you. Yeah,
let's just be done with this, and let's actually release him, since clearly he's great in the ring, but you got no direction for him. He should have been in the list of cuts.
Yeah, well, to your point about Femi, and no, he's not bad on the mic, but this is one thing that I've learned with foreigners is just the accent alone gets them over. They don't need a catchphrase. If you could just take your accent and make yourself sound intimidating, you'll get over. Look at Rusev. Look at Oba Femi.
In terms of who
Tell me
it
I'm
could
lying.
be, you can't do a returning star because you can't have that returning star take an L in their return. Like, Kevin Owens is now appearing on their NXT LFG show, so I'm assuming he's getting closer to an in-ring return, but you can't have him show up and lose to Oba.
Unless it's Santino Morella. He can lose every single week. Go ahead.
I'd still say it. I'd like to see it be Moose. I'd like to see it be Moose.
Go ahead, Sean.
They had a great match in NXT in Madison Square Garden last year, or the year before when the whole invasion angle started happening again. I'd love to see that. Let it be Mike Santana, the TNA World Champion. Give Oba somebody credible that he can beat.
Yeah, but it can't be anyone from NXT because he just left there.
Yep.
He already ran through that roster. So
Yep.
with that being said, we'll go ahead and move it on down. Tyler, it's your time, buddy. So
All right.
we are now on to Tyler's 5 count. This is his top 5 best NXT Black and Gold superstars of all time. Undisputed Sumner, take it away.
Thank you very much. Hello, it is I, Undisputed Sumner, Tyler Sumner, T-Swizz, whatever you want to call me. And today, I'm bringing you my segment of Tyler's 5 count. My list today is the best NXT Black and Gold superstars. Recently, I've gone on a watch party of watching all the original NXT TakeOver main events and TakeOver matches that stood out to me. So with that being said, let's get into this list of who my top 5 Black and Gold superstars are. We're going to start off at number 5, Tommaso Ciampa. I mean, the theme song, first of all, No One Will Survive, fit him so well. He had the tag team with Johnny Gargano, DIY. But the rivalry with Johnny Gargano could arguably be, actually inarguably, is the greatest rivalry in NXT history. The heel turn. The jagged edge off the stage into the announcer table. The unsanctioned match where he literally took a cinder block and spiked Johnny Gargano on his neck. One of the most brutal spots I've ever seen. Tommaso Ciampa, number 5. All I gotta say. If you haven't watched Ciampa versus Gargano, the whole rivalry and how it played out, do your homework. Please go watch that rivalry. I promise you guys will love it. Coming in at number 4, Finn Balor. He had to be on this list. He was either my 3 or my 4, but he had to be on the list. Formerly the longest reigning NXT champion of all time, was dethroned by somebody else who you will see on this list. But the Demon originated in Japan, and it was an every pay-per-view thing in NXT. The match in Tokyo against Kevin Owens, the ladder match, incredible. The rivalry with Samoa Joe, amazing. Finn Balor, one of the greatest NXT superstars of all time, also rejuvenating himself back in 2020 when the whole pandemic was going on, and asserted himself kind of as like a good heel in NXT, was awesome. We'll never forget that. Finn Balor NXT days, incredible. Coming in at number 3, the recently retired, so it seems, Asuka. Remember earlier in the show I said people could know who they are, but we send them to NXT to get more familiar with the audience? Well, that worked out in Asuka's favor. She had a longer streak than Bill Goldberg himself. Yes, that's right, ladies and gentlemen. Bill Goldberg. And they made the wrong booking decision at WrestleMania 34 having Charlotte beat Asuka. I think Asuka should have continued her win streak at WrestleMania 34, beating Charlotte, especially coming off the first Women's Royal Rumble win. But I mean, Asuka, if you guys want to watch a gem that was on NXT TV for free, go watch Nikki Cross versus Asuka in a last woman standing match. It was awesome. Number 2, we mentioned his tag team partner. Now we're going to mention him. Johnny freaking Takeover. He had an incredible rivalry with Adam Cole. He had one of the most brutal rivalries with Tommaso Ciampa. He's an NXT Triple Crown winner, North American champion, tag team champion, and an NXT champion. He had a great rivalry with Andrade. Some of the best in-ring matches you will ever see in NXT. And it's just one of those things that when Johnny Gargano music hit, and you heard Rebel Heart play in Full Sail University or in the Barclays Center, you know it was time for Johnny Takeover to come out and play. But my number one, you already know who it is. Adam Cole, baby. Denzel, Sean, do I need to say any more? The longest reigning NXT champion of all time, 403 days, led the greatest faction in NXT history, the Undisputed Era. I still put the Undisputed Era in my top 5 factions of all time in WWE. They were just incredibly entertaining to watch. From the moment he showed up and ran through the crowd at the Barclays Center at NXT TakeOver Brooklyn and attacked Drew McIntyre and showed up after we already had gotten AJ Styles at the Royal Rumble, it was just one of those things. It's like, holy shit, that's Adam Cole. He's here. And then Kyle O'Reilly also came along, and then Bobby Fish, and then Roderick Strong eventually joined the group. Adam Cole versus Ricochet, ladies and gentlemen, for the North American Championship. I cannot stress this enough. Is probably my favorite NXT match of all time for one spot. Ricochet went to hit a moonsault. He is upside down, and Adam Cole pulls out a super kick out of nowhere while Ricochet is upside down. Like, come on. Come on. And it's just the theme song, the greatest NXT theme song in NXT history. I'm saying it right now. It was simple, but it was a banger. It had the crowd going along with it. I miss Adam Cole so much because back when they were doing the NXT versus Raw versus SmackDown for Survivor Series, do you guys remember when Adam Cole used to have the matches on Monday Night Raw and SmackDown leading up to it? Mm-hmm. Adam Cole versus Daniel Bryan. Banger. Adam Cole versus Seth Rollins. Literally, 2019 me would say that was my version of Brett Shawn in ring wise. Because that match was so damn good. If Adam Cole, I'm going to say this right now. If Adam Cole didn't get released and Triple H ran the show still, and eventually Vince McMahon just sold it, didn't release Adam Cole, all that, Adam Cole would have already been a WWE champion. I personally would have picked him to be one of the guys to possibly dethrone Roman Reigns, his original reign, because you could have done the Bullet Club with Adam Cole, Finn Balor, right? You could have had AJ be a background character in it to support Adam Cole because AJ was on his way out. And you could have also had possibly more of the guys from the Undisputed Era, right? But could you imagine the Bullet Club versus the Bloodline? Could you imagine the Undisputed Era versus the Bloodline? It's just one of those things, man. Adam Cole, if he ever gets healthy, come back to WWE. I need to see Adam Cole versus Cody Rhodes. I need to see Adam Cole versus Roman Reigns. I need to see Adam Cole versus Seth Rollins on the grandest stage of them all. And there you have it. My top 5 for this week. Best NXT Black and Gold superstars of all time. My list next week. I already have the topic. Fellas, are you ready?
Okay, what do you got?
The greatest factions in WWE history.
Indeed. Indeed, we would definitely get to it next week. Sean, your thoughts about Tyler's top five? He's got some awesome names on there. I most definitely agree with number one. I probably would move Oscar to number two because of the streak, and I agree she should have never lost to Charlotte Flair at Mania. They should have kept that going. But other than that, otherwise, solid list. Sean, what do you think?
So, I mean, yeah, NXT wise, probably because NXT is very indie-ish, and it was different then, and the indie style worked. The reason Adam Cole wasn't extended though is he never got that out his system. He never grew into a WWE worker. They were offered him a manager role in his re-extension due to injuries and due to the fact he wouldn't change his in-ring style because he believes in big spots and multiple close kickouts. And I'm sorry, but that's just not how we get things done at the bigger stage. Him versus Seth, Seth carried that back in that day. But again, NXT wise, because NXT was very indie-ish when he was there before Shawn Michaels was involved, and now you see the different volumes of talent coming out with Shawn Michaels involved in terms of Trick and Oba and Javon and how much more seasoned they are. But it's just one of those things where Adam Cole is, he's good for what he is, but he's got a ceiling. And that's why he's over at AEW, because the WWE saw that ceiling, and there's a ceiling there with a guy that it refuses to change his work style and his work rate. We all know that there is a WWE formula in place, and if you're not going to do that, that's why they offer you to change your roles. There's a reason Max Dupree went from a manager to LA Knight, and they wanted Adam Cole to go from a wrestler to a manager. Yeah. Just let that sink in.
Yeah, even though LA Knight was very over as a heel in NXT, I thought the switching him to a manager thing was a mistake. It's like, no, you got to let him be LA Knight. And then look, he turned into LA Knight.
And it's the in work. He learned the WWE style though. He slowed down in the ring. He doesn't do 10 big spots a match now. He understands to pander more. Well, versus Adam Cole, and again, I think it's great for NXT, but it's big spot, kick out, big spot, kick out. Like it's just too much.
Now I will tell you this much: if you were, I'll ask you this, and then we'll move on. If you put Adam Cole in a match like that at WrestleMania, does it get over, despite it not being WWE style?
I think because you've got the hardcore fans there, yeah. But at a casual pay-per-view, Seth Rollins has to carry him all night. Cody Rhodes has to carry him all night. And it's one of those things where they're going to tell him, like, I'm not laying down for a 2 count after your big clothesline off the top rope.
Okay. Fair enough. Very, very, very fair enough. So we'll move on to our final segment, and that is, Sean, it's your turn, buddy. It's time to enter the vault. We're going to start off going back on this day in 2018.
So 2015.
Oh, was it 15?
Yeah, 2015. But so we got Kevin Owens making his main roster debut. And he absolutely destroys John Cena. And I bring this up because, like I said, Kevin Owens was on the start of season 3 on FG last night. I'm hoping he's starting to be healthy. So I hope we're seeing Kevin Owens make a return here soon. I think just overall, both shows are better when Kevin Owens is on there with a rivalry. And I think he could help out Sami Zayn's floundering character right now, no matter what they decided to do with that, whether it would be putting them back together or putting them against each other again. I think a Kevin Owens return makes Sammy's character a whole lot better right now.
Yeah, it just kind of seems like he's, which is crazy because Sammy has the means, obviously, and the talent to like do it and be successful without Kevin Owens. But maybe he needs his best friend back in the fold in order to rejuvenate him. Who knows? But no, I do remember this match. If I'm not mistaken, I believe it was a non-title match. Owens was the NXT champion and Cena was the United States champion. So it was a champion versus champion match, and Owens and I expected Owens to give him a closer fight than people thought. But Cena coming out on top, but Cena put him over. Cena put him over. It's the type of guy Cena is, but no. That right there let you know that Kevin Owens had most definitely arrived. And we'll move on.
And he could do things for the United States title scene too, because again, those titles are floundering in terms of big gatekeepers. Like when Gunther had the Intercontinental title, you've got a gatekeeper with that title, which means whoever takes it from him is now getting a boost even from a lower title, and that's just not going on right now with those titles.
Yeah, they have to go back to the well. They have to find former world champions. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love Trick Willie as U.S. champion. I think he can elevate it, you know. And Penta, I am a fan of Penta. I love the guy. I love that he won the Intercontinental Championship. I do not think the two current champions right now are bad. However, in speaking of 2015, because this was the time period where, like you said, Sean, the United States Championship was an afterthought. The Intercontinental Championship was an afterthought.
No, and who did they put it on? They put it on Cena. They put it on Owens. They put it on Roman Reigns. Mm-hmm. They made it relevant by putting it on bigger guys. Yes. Now, even though they had to end some of those reigns differently, because obviously then you're protecting Cena, you're protecting Reigns, because you don't want to necessarily lose a title of that nature, given their heavyweight championship status. So that gets a little sticky there, but you're making the title relevant again by putting in bigger names. There's no, like you said, I think they're good with where they're at right now, but like Penta better never drop it to Rusev here in the next 2 months.
Yeah, no, I agree with you on that one. And that's the name of the game, Sean. Is in order to make the titles relevant again, not just bigger names, former world champions. Because in turn, with the United States Championship that you just said, who did they have to put it on for the Intercontinental Championship? Daniel Bryan. It was shortly before his retirement.
I don't want to see this. I would rather it be someone else holding it. But what if you put an Intercontinental title on Seth Rollins or Braun Breaker? What does that add to that rivalry that's already starting to get legs again? So it's things like that where then all of a sudden you've got Seth or Braun as the gatekeeper for arguably the championship that makes you a number one contender on Raw.
Right.
And then again, you've got a bigger name holding the belt. So again, nothing against Penta. I think he's going to grow, and I think he's going to hold the championship for a while here. But I could see them where adding a title like that does a lot of layers for a Breaker Rollins type rivalry.
It does indeed. But there is one thing that and you know what, I'm curious here. So Tyler, real quick, if you were to put the Intercontinental Championship back on Braun Breaker right now, wouldn't that theoretically be a step down for him, seeing as he has yet to win a world title?
Yes, because I think the fact that we've seen Braun Breaker go to war with Roman Reigns, go to war with CM Punk, go to war with, other big names, I think we're beyond mid-card titles for Breaker. Now, Bronson Reed, on the other hand,
yes,
I'd like that.
Yes,
I'd like Bronson Reed.
I would love to see Penta hold the championship until Reed gets back, and then Reed win it, because now you have one more title in the camp of the division to make yourselves more solidified, because absolutely nothing solidifies a faction like championships, like being decorated. Look at DX back then. Look at the NWO back then. Look at all these other ones. The Bloodline. The Bloodline had the Undisputed Tag titles and the Undisputed World Championships. It's time to start putting more gold on the division. But I just had
a light bulb go off.
Mm-hmm.
I think I know who's going to answer Oba's challenge at Clash in Italy.
Who's that?
Bronson Reed.
Is he clear? Okay, Sean, is he cleared?
I think we're getting close, but again, can you do that to a returning Bronson Reed? You gotta have him lose to Oba. I don't think you can, because then that kills what he did against Roman Reigns.
Because here's what you do: you make him look strong. Remember, I'm gonna take it back for a second here. Remember what happened at WrestleMania 27 with Triple H and Undertaker? Undertaker won the match, but who stood tall at the end of the night?
It was Triple H.
You have Oba barely beat Bronson Reed, and Bronson Reed destroys Oba. Then we're building to a credible rivalry for Oba. You give something for Oba to do.
Keep Oba off of television for 3 weeks and make people think, oh, shoot, he's on the shelf.
Not even 3. Maybe like 2. Keep him off 2 weeks.
Fair.
Fair. Hell, you know what? Maybe LA Knight answers the challenge tonight, too, because where's LA Knight been?
That also. He's kind of been backdooring the whole Bloodline thing. We'll see what happens with LA Knight. But we'll move on to our second one real quick. And that is, in my opinion, I'll argue this to the grave. This is a top 5 upset of all time. Go ahead, Sean.
Yeah, so obviously we know that they were friends behind the scenes, but 123 Kid, better known as X-Pac or Six, defeated Razor Ramon in his first ever Monday Night Raw match. And obviously at the time, Razor was one of the bigger heels. This actually started the turn of Razor becoming a face. 123 Kid would actually beat him again, I believe, the following week or 2 weeks later. And it then really solidify Razor's face turn. And then quietly on this show, Marty Jannetty defeated Shawn Michaels to win the Intercontinental title.
Yeah, with this one right here, this is crazy how like a big title win took a backseat to like the biggest at the time period, the biggest upset in World Wrestling.
No, and just size and stature of Kid at the time. He was 100 pounds soaking wet at that time. He was not the stature he was when he got to NWO and DX, where he had built up a little bit, heavier in terms of muscle. But he was 100 pounds soaking wet. He was no bigger than young Rey Mysterio at the time. So for him to pull off, obviously versus a much taller Scott Hall, Razor Ramon at the time, but and a much heavier Razor Ramon, for him to pull that off and Hall to work that type of match with him, it spoke volumes for both guys.
Yeah, it did indeed. And last but not least, we'll go on to TNA this time. TNA Sacrifice 2010. Take it away.
Yeah, and this could have been easily just WWE circa 2006 if you look at some of these matches. Sting defeated Jeff Jarrett. Jeff Hardy defeated Mr. Anderson. The Outsiders defeated Shannon Moore and Neil. And they retained the TNA World Tag Team Champions. And so the main event, though, was Rob Van Dam against AJ Styles, which would only happen twice. Both wins went to Rob Van Dam. The first one to retain his championship, and I believe the second one was also a retained situation. I believe it was on the line the second time as well. But they would only fight twice in their entire careers, between a little overlap in WWE, a little overlap in Japan, and obviously the TNA overlap. Only 2 singles matches, and they both went Rob Van Dam's way.
Yeah, this right here is interesting because it's crazy how ECW never crowned him. Well, I mean, only after he went to WWE, and then they had to resurrect ECW for it to happen. I thought he should have been world champion when ECW was his own company and whatnot. It's crazy how he had to go WWE and then also TNA to win the world championship.
As ECW grew, he was obviously the biggest draw in that company, whether he was the top of the card, the beginning of the card, the middle of the card. He was the biggest pop in that company. He was the biggest draw. If they took merchandise notes, I'm sure RVD outsold even the Dudley Boys. So it was very weird to see that he was just basically the resident television champion.
Indeed. Well, we're going to go ahead and cut it for this episode. Thanks to everybody for tuning in to Top Rope Talk. Raw is on right now. Fatu is in the ring. We will see you all next week. Follow us on all of our socials. Also, sideline-se.com. Tune into the website. We will see you all next week. It'll be the Saturday Night Main Event recap. Peace.